All right. Ready?
Mm-hmm.
What's up, everybody? You're listening to episode 10 of Just Breathing with Laud Lungs. I'm joined by my wife, Brittany, once again, and this is episode 10.
It's crazy.
Numero 10. That's Spanish. I think it's a pretty momentous thing for us to accomplish, to get to those double digits, which it means that we actually are doing something.
Yeah.
And we're doing something consistently.
Yes.
Which is a really hard thing to do.
With
in
3
your
kids.
Life. With 3 kids. Yeah. I was just going to say in life.
In life. That's true.
I mean, how many people struggle with continuing with something once they start?
Yeah, like working out.
Exactly. I mean, what do you think New Year's is? I mean, New Year's is like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it this year. And then a week later, because I've been to the, when I had the Planet Fitness membership,
Mm-hmm.
I was there. January 1st, I was there.
Yeah.
And it was packed. It was a packed house. And there were so many people so confident of the transformation they were about to achieve. And then February happens. And then March happens. And then there's like half there. And then there was less. And then, halfway into the year. Halfway into the year, you're back to normal numbers and you can get any treadmill you want, any elliptical you want.
Hey, maybe I need to look in those months for something like that.
Nah. Gyms are overrated. That's
no, not to go to a gym, but like to buy like an elliptical or something.
Oh.
I don't know if that would help me be consistent. Probably not.
I don't know.
I struggle to be consistent with exercising.
It's hard. It's something that I see all these people on social media or online, and they're all these workout gurus and leadership gurus and, get off your couch and work people. And like, they even talk about when they're sitting down with someone and discussing their kind of daily routines, they say, yeah, I stare at my running shoes for like 30 minutes because I don't want to do it. And then they have to self-talk and they have to get themselves amped up and say, no, it's going to happen.
Right.
I'm going to do this.
Right.
And I think that's good.
Yeah. I think you need to find the exercise that's best for you. Mm-hmm. And I don't think I found that yet. Like, I feel like I got close with that one, like, yoga, like, exercise thing on the P90X.
Oh, okay.
Like, I liked that.
That one's like...
But it was really long.
Right. It's super long. It's an hour and a half.
Right. And so I would love to have something like that that's like 30 minutes. Right. But, like, it's hard to find I haven't found one that I like. Like, I looked for a little while on YouTube and like I didn't really like any of the ones that I saw. Because like you could some of them are really weird and then some of them aren't weird, but you feel like they're not like as intense as you would want.
Right. And that's what I was going to say. The P90X one is very long. I would say like the first half of it is kind of a yoga / calisthenics workout because you really work up a sweat in that first half.
Yeah.
And then the rest of it, I think, is more balance, right?
Yeah, but it's still really hard because it's strengthening too. Like the balance, you're using like all your muscles to keep yourself balanced. So you're like strengthening yourself at the same time.
Right.
And like toning yourself. I don't know. Anyway. Yeah.
It's hard to stay consistent. But we did it.
We
made it to 10 podcasts.
Yes.
Whoa. And I'm going to keep going. I like doing it.
Yeah.
And I think that's the key. You do something for enough time to know, is this worth my life?
Right.
And some people can go the opposite way and be super consistent with something that they should have let die a while ago.
That's true.
And that happens too. But this is fun. This is something that we've enjoyed it. Mm-hmm. And if we weren't enjoying it, I wouldn't do it because I would not want to sit here and be like, oh, she's suffering. She's suffering this entire time.
You would be able to tell because I'm not a great talker. So if I can talk okay here, then.
Right. And your emotions would be would be there
on display.
Would be on display. Yeah. Yeah. So I'm happy that we're doing this. I'm happy that we're still chugging along, and I'm excited for new people.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we've been talking about the people that we want to get on here, the people we want to talk to, the types of conversations we want to have, ways that we want to expand this.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that I think would be really cool, and we were talking about this yesterday. Was it yesterday?
I don't know which
Saturday.
One. We talk a lot about this stuff. So.
I know. I don't remember.
One of the days recently.
But we were talking about having a time where we could really answer questions.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And, probably at first, we're going to be answering questions that we came up with.
Yeah.
But as the audience grows, hopefully people can be sending us questions and we can be just engaging.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted this podcast, I said in the very first episode, I wanted this to be a podcast where we talk about culture, where we talk about religion, where we talk about music, where we talk about anything.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to engage those conversations and give a perspective from someone that I am a Christian.
Right.
And I think Christians have something to say.
Oh, yeah.
Most of the time they just kind of get stuck in these sort of churchy type religious conversations.
Yeah. That don't make sense to anyone
I want to have
else.
real conversations.
Yeah.
I don't want to have a church conversation. Yeah. I want to use real words.
Right.
And I want to talk to people about culture and say, where's culture at right now? How are we influencing culture?
Right.
Like, how are we being a part of it?
Mm-hmm.
Not liking some parts of it or liking some parts of it.
Right.
How are we engaging in it?
Right.
And
contributing to it. Yeah.
Right. So I want to have conversations about that. I want to answer conversations. We're in marriage.
Oh, yeah.
We're doing that right now.
Yeah.
So I want to talk about marriage because I think marriage has gotten a real bad rap.
Yeah, it has.
Mostly because a lot of people have sucked at it so much. And
it's so true.
And they're the ones that tell their stories because
Yes.
they're so heartbroken or they're so whatever.
Yeah.
They're the ones, all around town telling everybody how bad marriage is.
Right.
And it's not.
It's such a powerful thing if it's, if you can work in it.
Well, it's such a powerful thing if you're engaged.
Right.
I think that's such a powerful word, talking about consistency. Consistency requires your engagement in whatever you're going for.
Right.
If it's working out and your health, you have to engage in that.
Right.
You can't just think about it.
Right.
Like if you're trying to diet, you have to engage. You have to meal plan. You have to, know what you're going to buy at the grocery store. Right. It requires
active. You have to be active.
You have to be active. You have to be thinking ahead. Consistency is more than just doing the same thing over and over again. It's really laying the tracks in front of you.
Yes.
Which is an active process.
Right.
And it requires you nailing some things down and some, making sure your footing is right as you go forward.
Right.
Now, if not, then you're just stumbling forward and you're tripping all over yourself and you're not really getting anywhere.
No.
I don't think you'll get anywhere health-wise. I don't think you'll get anywhere career-wise.
Right.
Whatever you're going for, you really need to be engaged in every step, you know, as you go forward. But yeah, what were we talking about right before that? Yeah, just wanting to engage in some marital stuff. I want to let people know if they're single, I want to let them know about the joys of marriage.
Oh yeah.
Because I don't think there's enough people talking about that.
Right.
You know, I want to let people know. I want to sort of quell some of the rumors around marriage and give people facts.
Right. So let me ask you a question then. So what would you say before you got married? What did you think about marriage? Like, what did you think it would be like? And then now that you've been married for almost 8 years, what does it actually look like? Or were you right in your assumption?
I mean, so I'm going to give a very superficial answer.
Okay.
And then I'm going to give a real deep philosophical answer.
Okay, can't wait for the
that
second
might
part.
not be that deep. Surface answer, I was a Christian. I decided not to have sex before marriage. So my idea of marriage was that I got to have sex.
It's true. It's a benefit.
I mean, a lot of people don't understand this because they're sleeping around and that's not a thing. But, you know, I wasn't perfect leading up to marriage.
Right.
But I drew that line in the sand and I was like, I'm not going to go past here.
Yep.
I really want to save myself so that I'm not thinking about 20 other people while I'm with my wife.
Amen.
You know, you're pretty happy about that. And that's what I wanted.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I wanted. I also wanted to have sex.
Right.
So that was definitely an aim. When thinking about what marriage will be like, I thought it would involve sex. So that's where this podcast is going today. But
that's an honest answer.
Well, you know what? And talk about like, these are the types of things that I want to dispel when we talk about marriage.
Mm-hmm.
Like married couples have like 100 times more sex than the average person that are unmarried.
Right. Yeah.
And people don't understand this. Like married people have a lot of sex.
It's true.
It is true. But we have this weird notion that the people like sleeping around are really getting the action.
Right.
That's not true.
Right.
Married couples are always there.
Yes.
They're always there for each other. They always come home and there is an opposite sex for you to engage in sex with.
Yes.
You know, and it's such a simple thing, really.
Right.
But it's gotten so skewed and confused in our world.
It really
where
has.
we really don't think that's the way to go if that's the type of life you want to live.
Right.
You know, not saying that needs to be your focus.
There's so much more than that.
There is so much more than that. That's the surface for me, though. Moving into the deep philosophical, that's not really going to be deep or philosophical.
Darn it.
No, I definitely grew in my understanding and my vision, I guess is the right word, for what I thought marriage was going to be for me in my life. And that's really, until we get into marriage, that's the only vision we can really have.
Right.
Is our vision of marriage.
Yeah.
And that changes dramatically once you actually engage with it with another person.
Yep.
Because then marriage has to be this, you know, mix of your vision for marriage and her vision for marriage, or his vision for marriage. So yeah, I guess my vision for marriage definitely right before we got married had changed to be, I wanted someone that shared my values. That's the number one thing. You can't really marry somebody if they don't share your values.
Unless you're willing to change your own.
Yeah. Unless you're,
because that's probably going to happen.
Well, it's gonna
or you're gonna have.
It's
a lot
gonna
of
happen, or you're gonna dumb down your ideas to the point where you don't even know what you believe anymore.
Right.
And I hear that question a lot, actually. Like if I've ever listened to like radio stations where people are calling up asking for advice and stuff, they always have like a guy or a girl calling in, like, I'm in this relationship, and you know this girl doesn't really think like me, you know, she has like different ideas on politics, or she has different ideas on religion, and you know, but I really like her, she's really hot, you know. And thankfully, you know, the people that I've listened to have been real firm in saying it's probably not the right one for you.
Right. Good for them.
You know, have the conversation. Don't just neglect the conversation.
Right.
That's an issue too.
That's true.
If you're not even going to talk about it with him or her,
that's a problem. Red flag.
You probably shouldn't be getting married anyway, because then you're not going to be willing to have those conversations in the future.
Right.
So values, what you believe in, super important. And that was super important in my decision making for marriage. Having someone that I knew would take care of me. And that sounds like super Freudian. Like that sounds super like I was looking for my mother. But I think there's a mutual understanding of that. You want somebody that when you're down, and there's been times where you've been sick, where you've been, hurting, where you've been needing me to care for you, needing me to clean, needing me to cook, needing me to whatever. And I've been able to step up and do that.
Right.
So that's definitely something that I looked for coming into marriage, was when I'm sick, when I'm down.
Right.
And there's been plenty of those times in my life.
Right.
In our marriage. And you've been able to step up and take care of me.
Right.
So that's a second thing for me that I was really looking for. Values, making sure that matched up, making sure that really jived with where I was at in my life. And then someone that could care for me and care for themselves.
Right.
I think that's important too. I wanted somebody that was growing in their life.
Oh, I was growing.
Well, and that's the thing. Like, we definitely both had a lot more growing to do.
Yeah.
I mean, we got married young.
Yeah.
How old were you?
I was 21.
You were 21. Okay. So yeah, I was 22. You were 21. That's young.
Yeah.
That's young to get married. But I knew that you were on a trajectory, and you were on the same trajectory that I was going.
Right.
So I knew that we would push each other, keep each other focused on going in that direction. So that was really important to me. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that really was on my mind, because you're really wondering about like the decision-making process.
No. So I'm curious. So that's like, I wanted to know everything you just said, but then did anything change? Like, so you had these things in your head that you thought about in marriage, and then you got married.
Yeah.
Like, did anything change? Were you caught off guard? Were you like, oh, this wasn't exactly what I had thought? Like, I didn't realize this would be so hard, or this would be so easy, or
women were this gross. No, I'm just kidding. Just
Thanks
kidding.
a lot.
Just kidding. What were you saying? No.
So what, like, once you got married, then did anything that you had expected like change, or were you caught off guard? Like, were you like, oh yeah, this is what I thought marriage would be like? Or were you like, oh, I didn't expect this? Or
Yeah. I don't know. I haven't really thought a lot about that question, just because I'm in it.
right.
I don't really, and I haven't really had any crises,
Right.
if that's the right word, that really made me contemplate those questions yet.
Right.
I'm sure everyone at some point in their marriage goes through a time where they have to remember why they're doing this,
Right.
and all that type of stuff. But
Yeah, not in a negative. Yeah, not in a negative way.
yeah, no, I understand your question. I just haven't really thought a lot about it. I don't know. What about you? Maybe have you?
Yeah. So I mean, I haven't thought about this question either. I just thought of it and I was like, oh, I'll ask you. But for me, I mean, when I thought about marriage, like, now I talk about growing. I was growing, like, personally and emotionally in a healthier direction when we got married. And I have grown so much since we got married. And so I think when I originally was planning to get married, like, I mean, praise God that he was protecting me, because you were the right person. Thank you, Lord. But I had like a list that I was basically like, this is like my ideal list. And like, whoever I marry, like, has to like fit all these things.
Yeah.
And
Tell people a little bit about that, because that's not common.
So I
think it's smart, though.
I had an intense list that I had written like when I was really young.
Mhm.
And now I was praying for you. I didn't know it was you for like years.
Yeah.
Like, I was praying for your life, even just like for protection and wisdom. And anyway, so I had written this list and I was like, Lord, this is the list that, like, this guy has to meet this list, because I need you to do that for me. And it was like, it was silly things and serious things. I think we have the list somewhere, but I can't remember everything on it. But I remember this is the one thing I remember. The one thing that you didn't meet. You only didn't meet one thing on it. But it was the most superficial one, so I was like, I can let that slide. It was, you didn't like to play board games.
I don't like to play board games. I wish I could say, but I've grown. But I haven't. I still hate board games.
But yeah, so that was a pretty hefty list.
Yeah.
Anyway, you met all of them, so good for you. Except for the board game one, which wasn't, I said to myself, that's not a big deal. So I went in with like, he has to meet this list. And, I need to know that he has the same values as me. That was very important. You had to be like seeking God. That was probably my main. I wanted someone who, like, I didn't want to be dragging you along with me. Like, I'm going after God, and you better be too, or we can't do this. So that was probably my biggest thing. And I prayed about it a lot, and I felt like you were the right person. I don't know who else could meet that list. Yeah. And then I thought this, now going into what I had imagined marriage to be as a little girl who grew up in a very safe home. And I'm very thankful for that. I kind of had like this fairy tale sort of like thing in my head, which I know. Boy. No. Okay. So
all right.
Not actual fairy tale, but like I'm a peacemaker. So like my personality is very much like, let's keep the peace. Everything needs to be peaceful. And like,
And you married me.
I don't like arguing. I don't like fighting. I don't like raised voices. And your family is like raised voices. Like that would be the definition of your family.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, my dad is like half deaf, so the volume just automatically goes up.
And it's not because you guys like hate each other. It's just like,
we could be like loving and be like, I love you.
Right. And you guys, when you argue, it's very intense. And I never had that in my family. So like, anyway, so when I went into marriage, and once I got married, I was like, oh, wow, this is a lot more challenging than I thought. And not like a negative against you. I just didn't realize how like unhealthy I was. Like marriage is amazing in that it helps you to realize like where you need to grow. And like it humbles you because you're like, I really need to like, I need to grow. Or like, I mean, there's no other option. Right. You grow or I don't know what you do. I didn't take that option. So you have to grow. And so that was like, I think the biggest thing that surprised me. I didn't realize how unhealthy I was until I got married.
Yeah.
I didn't realize how much I needed to grow until I got married. Like I was seeing it when we were dating and we were engaged, but once you actually start to live with that person and you're out of your other environment that was kind of fostering your unhealthy habits and mindsets, then you realize like, oh, wow. So, yeah.
I think that's, if you find that once you get married, or even if you don't see that at first,
right,
it's so key to just develop yourself.
Right.
After you get married. Before you get married, definitely do all you can to prepare yourself for marriage. I always recommend people do premarital counseling. Yeah. Some people don't even know that exists.
Yeah. We did that.
Yeah, we did that. And, we did it. My dad's a pastor, so we did it with someone who wasn't my dad.
That would be
because that would be awkward. But no, we had a great couple mentor us and really it's great to do with another couple.
Yeah.
I mean, you can do it with a pastor, but if you can do it with an older couple too, who could say, here are some pitfalls that we fell into in our marriage.
Right.
You want to find somebody that's open and honest.
Right.
That's the best type of counseling that you're going to get. And you're really going to come away from those counseling sessions and have really meaningful conversations.
Yes. Yeah.
Like that's something that I really valued, was after we would get out of those times, me and you would have a conversation,
right,
that was a little more open,
yes,
a little more, really getting into some of the things that we talked about. You were able to address things that maybe I said that you were like iffy about.
Right.
And that happens a lot.
Because
that's definitely part of your personality, where you're like, you said this, but I got this vibe.
Right.
And for
you said this, but I felt this. So which one is true?
Right. And my personality is, well, I said it, so I mean it. I'm a very direct person in that way. So if I say I'm going to be there for you, I'm going to be there for you. And if I say I'm going to kick your butt, watch out, No, but so that was a huge growth. I have no idea what word I'm trying to say next, but an opportunity to grow before we even got married.
Right.
And a lot of people get married and then they just kind of rely on that love that they had before marriage, or they rely on just who they were before marriage. And I think
you can't do that.
No, because marriage is going to take you through so many different things.
Right.
You're going to go through so many different things together now in life.
Right.
That you've never maybe you navigated some of those things on your own before, but you've never navigated them with somebody that you have to protect, that you have to look out for, that you have to really know how to navigate with.
Right.
You can't be a lone wolf anymore.
No.
You have to be able to speak to each other, communicate, and move as one. And that really requires growth.
Yeah.
That really requires you seeking other material, if that's books, if that's like, again, maybe a mentor after you're married.
Right.
Somebody that also is married that's going through it. You guys can talk.
Right.
Make
sure that person's a mature person.
Yeah, no, definitely.
So you're not getting bad advice.
No, definitely. This is the thing. I think I love that you have girlfriends that you can hang out with, and they're both in committed marriages.
Right.
They love their husbands, and they're not going there to gossip about their husbands. Like you always come away from those with like greater insights into marriage or ideas on how to be a better wife or a better mother.
Right.
And that's valuable.
Yeah.
I
wouldn't want to hang out with someone.
I'm definitely fine with having friends to go vent to.
Right.
I'm not opposed to people going and venting about their husbands or venting about their wives and being like, because you got to get those out.
Right.
And quick tip, it's not good to tell your wife everything. It is not good. If you have something that irks you about your spouse, your significant other, don't just tell them.
It's such a hard thing for
hurts them. No, there are some things that you can work through and work towards, and maybe you can change some things on your end that will like move them in the direction that you want them to grow, maybe.
Right.
But not everything needs to be said.
Right.
And that's something that we've definitely learned.
Yeah.
Talk about like pre-marriage understanding to post-marriage understanding. Like I said, I'm a direct person. So if I'm struggling with something that you're doing or that you've said or that you're thinking, that I know you're thinking, even though you won't tell me, I am the type of person who will just be like, hey, this,
right. You have to figure
let's talk about this.
Yeah.
I don't like this.
Yeah.
And that's depending on how you come at it,
each couple is going to be different in that way.
Right.
Like you like it when I'm like direct.
Exactly. I love it when you just tell me what you're thinking so that I can change.
Yeah.
So yes, there is, for every couple, know your spouse, know the way that they think, know the way that they feel.
Right.
Know their emotional state so that you can navigate that well. But growing is so necessary. Like I'm in my mind, I'm just thinking about, and this was real early on, maybe a couple of years into our marriage, that 5 love language book, 5 love languages, really understanding that and then having conversations with you about it.
Right.
to learn what your love language is so that I can shape myself.
Right.
Because we all express, basically the synopsis of this book is we all express love in certain ways. And usually it's the way that we receive love.
Right.
So understanding all of the different love languages, figuring out what your spouse, what their love language is, allows you to kind of take the blinders off.
Right.
And not just show love in the way that you like it.
Right.
But show love in the way that maybe you're not used to.
Right.
Or that doesn't really mean a lot to you. Maybe because one of them's like gifts.
Right.
I don't really get off on gifts.
Right.
People can give me gifts. I'm like really appreciative.
Right.
But I'm like, okay.
It doesn't, you like it, but you don't feel like you're a special loved.
I don't feel loved.
Right.
I don't feel loved by it. And I don't think you do either.
No,
You're not a
that's
gifts
my
person.
my last one.
Yeah. So, but that's one, go read that. I think it's Dr. Gary Chapman is the author of that book if you want to go look it up. And they have love languages for all different types of things, for people that are dating, for people that are in marriage, for dealing with children.
Right, yeah.
They have a lot of different ones. Teens, love languages for teens, all that. But that was a educational tool.
Yep.
That we were only a couple years into marriage.
Right. I had read a book right before you read that book.
Yeah.
That was the same idea, but not, it was finding the hero in your husband. And, it was so good because it just kind of helped me like understand a little bit more about, because really, usually it's yourself that's the problem, not all the time, but you have a big part in it. And
I wouldn't even say that yourself is usually the problem. I would just say, because I don't even know if it's always that we're a problem, but maybe parts of ourselves just don't work in configuration with another person.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. Or the way
it's not like we're at actual
Yes.
problem.
You're right.
Because we might be perfectly fine on our own.
Right.
But once we get into the coupling, then we start to say, oh, this doesn't turn anymore. This cog doesn't spin,
That's a good point. So maybe not necessarily that we are the actual problem, but we have things that we can adjust, and
there are issues that don't work.
Right. We can act or look or view things differently to better our situation and like to help the other person. Yeah. And so that book was super just, kind of informative and eye-opening. But I remember thinking this probably like, I don't know, 4 or 5 years in. I don't know when I was thinking it, but I was thinking how, like when you first get married, those first like 3 years, you just kind of think they're going to be super easy because you're so in love with this person that you just got married to. But I like to tell people now that are just getting married, like, this is the best thing ever. But you have to work through your problems. Like, you have to work through the issues that you have, the family issues or whatever it is. And like, I mean, this is ongoing. It's not just like, it's just in the first 3 years. It's ongoing. But you have to work through these things. Like, don't cover it up. Don't shy away from it. Like, I feel like the first couple of years of marriage are actually some of the hardest, because that's where you find out, like, oh, whatever it is, like, we have a major problem with our families, or, we spend money totally differently, or whatever the problem is, or the multiple problems. Like, you have to continue to work through it and talk about it and just work it out, or else you're not going to be at peace, and you're going to be like always in a battle. But you just have to be honest about it and work through it.
Yeah. I mean, the financial stuff was definitely something that we're still working through. Right. And we're 8 years in.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're still working through it. So yeah, that's something. Back to the premarital counseling, man.
Be honest.
Yeah. Be honest there so that you can get that out of the way and have a happier first couple of years of marriage. Because if you don't get that out of the way, if you're not open, if you're not communicating everything, woo, it's going to be a rough ride the first couple of years. Yeah. You can make it through. You definitely
can make it through.
But it's going to be rough.
Right.
So yeah, continue growing before and after marriage.
Right.
Making sure that you are not only investing in yourself, but investing in how you can invest in the other person.
Right. I get
That
that.
makes sense.
It does make sense.
Okay. Because sometimes you want to read a book to some self-help stuff, and so you can be a better person, and that's awesome.
Right.
Improve yourself. I'm a huge fan of that.
Right.
But also read some books on how you can shape yourself for another person.
Right.
Not saying that you aren't yourself. You're not removing any part of you, but you're looking at ways in your life that you can be better for your spouse, for your significant other.
Right.
And you will be different, but that's okay because you'll have a peaceful household. You'll have more love, more sex. And I say that jokingly, but not really. I mean, we're married now, so we can talk about this. The more sex that you have, the healthier your marriage is.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm not just saying like do it just
right
for a healthy marriage, but like you can gauge how healthy your marriage is by how much sex you're having.
Right.
And sorry if you're not married, if that's a lot of information for you, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
And it's truth.
Mm-hmm.
I look at that. I test the pulse of my marriage all the time. I'm just like, we good? All right, we good. So yeah, those are some great tips. I really like that. I'm trying to think if there's something else that I've learned, because I want to kind of come back to your question, the sort of what I thought before marriage and what I thought after. I think it's hard for me to kind of process that and answer it because I'm such a laid back person. Like I'm definitely, when I need to be, I'm very direct, forceful. I can lead, I can, bust through walls. But at home, I really just like to chill out.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like I'm definitely always thinking about new things to do, new ways to dream and really just pursue the things that I have talents in or that I just love doing in life. But I also just love to chill.
Right. Right.
And I love to chill with you. I love to chill with the kids and just, I'm not a very confrontational person, really. Oh, okay. All right. Got a little bit of the eye roll, little sideways glance.
I mean, your personality is confrontational.
When I have to be.
Okay.
When I have to be. Yeah.
Like sometimes we talk and like we're arguing, but you don't even agree with your own standpoint because you just want to argue. I mean,
I said that in the podcast with Pat. I was like, Brittany hates.
I hate that
when I play
it's
devil's
so
advocate.
Stupid. Well, it's a waste of time. It's a waste of time. We could be talking about something that actually.
Tell me what you think. Tell me what you really think.
I'm being direct.
You're being direct right now. That is true. Yeah, I do that too much. I'm sorry. See that? I just asked for forgiveness.
And I'll forgive you because that's what you're supposed to do.
Oh my goodness.
I'm just kidding.
Oh, let me bury that one in the crawl. No,
Well, I can add something.
Okay.
So I also encourage like newly wedded couples with this. Like if you work through your stuff and you just continue to do that, like you will love that person that you married more than you did the day you married them. Like that's my experience. Like it's so cool to see your relationship grow and like to see that person. I mean, hopefully you have this, but to see that person like be there by your side through all the hard stuff. And like they start to see all your flaws and they start to see like all the things that are annoying about you and they're still there. They're still loving you.
Yeah.
And that's like, it's so powerful.
Yeah. In both ways. I mean, first time someone gets a flu or gets sick, you see that person in all their glory, And then if you want to go to the extreme, first time you're in the delivery room, woo! Talk about all the glory. I got to see everything all out there. And yeah. And then you go away from that and you cherish it.
Yeah.
Because it was an experience that you shared together.
Right.
And it wasn't, if it wasn't your wife, it would be gross. But it was your wife.
Right.
Or it was your husband, stuff that you walked through with me. It's totally different.
Right.
Because you made this commitment and you're there for that person. You said you're going to be there for life.
Right.
So, yeah. Well, let's wrap it up here. I think that was cool.
I think that was good.
This is episode 10. We are in the double digits and we're just going to keep going. So thank you all for listening. Make sure that if you liked anything about this podcast today, let us know. If you have any questions about marriage, because that seemed to be the topic of conversation today, type them in the comments on YouTube. If I share this on social media, talk to us there. Send us a direct message if you want to talk more about this subject. We're open to that. Mm-hmm. So thank you all for listening, and I hope you have a good rest of your day. All right. Bye.
Yay. I feel like that was a good one. Thank you, Lord.